drop the music. Great, thank you. Once again, welcome to the 2019 State of the City Address, and thank you to Dewberry for sponsoring this event once again this year. I have just a few brief comments. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeff Griffin, President of your Chamber of Commerce here in Peoria. I want to make a few brief comments before introducing Mayor Ardis. One is about the IHSA. I want to raise awareness in the room that the IHSA March Madness experience, which we love to host, is a great event here. There's no threat to that right now, but that contract and application will be up again next year. And we're trying to rally as much support around that as possible, community support in the form of volunteerism and dollars. And Don Welch and the CVB have built a great relationship with IHSA that's brought not just the basketball, but the cross country, the chess, all those other events that bring people to our city. So the CO Council is in this year for a $10,000 sponsorship, and I invite you guys to talk to myself or Don Welch about how your company can be more involved. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a sponsorship, although those are appreciated. Just that Peoria rallies around. We don't want to get complacent and have other communities after it. Secondly, you've seen some communication this week from me on minimum wage, which is moving very quickly in Springfield. And thank you all for your feedback on that matter. We're always open. You can always call. Let me know what is on your mind. We did some surveying, which has gone well. There's two real things we're looking at, because we're going to get an increase in minimum wage. So this is not us saying it has to stay at $8.25 an hour. That's not the point. There does need to be some movement on it, but what we're advocating for is some time to make that movement so that it's ramped up over a sensible period of time, and maybe more importantly, a tiered system, as some other states such as New York have, where why would our minimum wage in Peoria equal that of Chicago? In some prevailing wage scenarios, that can be a 25 to 30% swing, so we would think the same rules should apply to the minimum wage. So let me know your thoughts on that. And finally, the pension issue. You all know that's an issue, and I know the mayor will touch on that in his State of the City, related to our municipal budgets. So the Chamber Board of Directors, we're really getting laser focused on what we can do about that specific issue to get some relief for municipalities. And in meeting with Mayor Ardis, he's connected me, the Illinois Municipal League, which he's a part of, and the Chamber of Commerce, which obviously I'm a part of, to get those two organizations working together to include our state chamber and peer communities across the state, because the same problems affect all of those communities. And that's open to more participation, not just the Illinois Municipal League and the Chambers of Commerce. If you're part of an association that wants to be a part of that effort, please let me know. The Illinois Municipal League has come up with announced seven bills, which is a spectrum, if you think from worst to best or best to worst, depending on where you are in that discussion, then all of them provide some relief to cities as the pension burden, some relief from that burden. So, and Mayor Ardis actually is going to be presenting at the State Chamber Conference in March, so we'll get that information out to you guys as well, the Chamber Day, which is a big advocacy day. So I figured since I had 600 of you in the room, I'd make a few quick points. That said, I can't thank Mayor Ardis enough for taking the time to do this. This is his 14th year doing this. The Chamber of Commerce knows that he gives his time. He doesn't have to do this event. He wants to do it to communicate with our business community, and we appreciate him for doing that. So please welcome the Honorable Jim Ardis.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, thanks to the Chamber of Commerce in Dewberry for allowing me to present the State of the City Address again this year. I hope you had a chance to look at the slideshow during lunch that displayed some of the many events that came out of the ICAT conference last year. Dr. Amir Al-Kafazi is the brains behind the ICAT, and he also chairs our Sustainability Commission. For those of you who don't know, ICAT is Innovations in Construction, Asphalt, and Transportation. And this year is going to be the 32nd year of the conference. The ICAT board focuses on bringing decision makers from government, legislators, scholars, and business executives all together to solve major problems facing business and governments through dialogue and candid discussions at about 20 VIP events annually. One of the strategic focus topics is sustainable funding for infrastructure. And that's a topic that's relevant to every city and every state in the country. I'm especially proud that Dr. Al-Kafaji keeps the conference here every year because with people from around the world who have come to visit, a lot of large cities have tried to move this conference to bigger cities, and Dr. Al-Kafaji has always been loyal to this community, and he keeps it here. So if you want to learn more about this, you can go to the website that I believe is on the screen. This year's conference is April 8th through the 10th, and it's really close to being sold out. So for those of you, most of you that are aware of it probably already are registered. For the rest of you, it's really an outstanding local conference. So I'm going to make a strong effort today to talk objectively about the state of our great city. Due to the time limits that we have, I may not have time to mention all the subjects that are important to you. I may not mention you. I may not mention your organization. But let me just say right now to every one of you that are doing countless, tremendous things to make our community stronger, thank you. Well, it's not news to anyone that the general feelings across the country when it comes to discussing almost all issues political are frustration, resentment, aggravation. You could probably all fill in a few more there as well, right? But at least at the state level right now, there seems to be a heightened sense of optimism that the changes in leadership there may be the beginning of a new effort to work across party lines to put our state back on the path of growth and prosperity. We have a long way to go, but I would like to congratulate Senator Kaler and Representative Gordon Booth, who are now both serving in leadership in the Senate and the House. And I'd also like to thank Representatives Eunice in Spain and Senator Weaver for their efforts on our behalf. We have a tough job here at the city, and they have a real tough job down in Springfield. We're really going to be working and hoping that working together with them that we'll be able to address the critical pension crisis in our state. This is by far the biggest issue that needs to be addressed for the sustainability of every city in our state. If there's one thing that we need help from Springfield on, it's the pension crisis. There's no more important fiscal issue for our state legislators to deal with, not one. I've been talking about this for years at this event and in others, and I believe it's finally at a critical point that something has to be done this year. Despite a doubling of taxpayer contributions since 2005, police and fire pension debts have doubled to $10 billion instead of shrunk, while funding ratios have fallen. Some would blame historical underfunding as the cause of the pension crisis, when it's actually the swelling pension promises from Springfield that are to blame. In 1987, municipalities owed a total of $2.6 billion in benefits to public safety workers and retirees in Illinois. Today, that number has jumped to over $23.5 billion, nearly an 800% increase. Those pension promises have grown at a pace that's overwhelming the state's economy, inflation, and household incomes. Inflation, if you can see the chart, inflation has risen by just 111%, and household incomes by 127% over those same 30 years. Cities in Illinois can't reform pensions, cut labor costs, or declare bankruptcy. The state sets the rules that define pension benefits and the collective bargaining laws that must be adhered to. If Illinois cities are to get out of this unattainable situation, that has to change. I will be serving with a group of other mayors from across the state to try to apply maximum pressure to persuade our legislators to provide that relief. If there ever was a cause that all groups here today can rally around, this is it. Being the Chamber of Commerce lunch in this crowd is predominantly focused on business. And as media continues to shrink, there are fewer opportunities for all of us to learn about what's happening in our city and elsewhere. Todd Pilon, over here behind the curtain, is the person who always helps us with the logistics for this State of the City. And I have an opportunity to go down and talk with Todd and meet with the folks down there for a lot of different programming. And I told him that this really is totally off script, but this was really a good spot to recognize public television and what they do for our community. The information that they bring, the people from the community that they have come in and educate us on the things that are happening. It really, public news is really outside of that spectrum that so many of us get upset about. And this isn't a spin on media, but I want to acknowledge the importance of public television and everything that WTVP does, the issues they talk about, whether it's housing issues or other community issues that they bring us together to talk about objectively. It's very important. And I would put the same plug in for the importance of public radio and the importance of WCBU staying alive and staying in Peoria. So with that said, it's not news to anyone that we've taken some hard shots in the media over the last few years. I know that I take my fair share of criticism for viewing Peoria through rose-colored glasses at times. A big part of this position is to do that. But I do want to bring you all up to speed on a very important topic that I want you all to contemplate as you listen today. In today's world, if you don't define yourself, your business, your endeavors, someone will define them for you. Peoria is in a position right now that in many cases we're letting others define who we are, and in many cases not in a positive light, and many times with inaccurate information. So today I want to challenge everyone in this room to think about that. Because neither I nor the city council or any one group here is going to single-handedly change the negative narrative. Every person and every business in this community needs to stand up and tell the story about what you and what your businesses are doing and how it makes Peoria a better community. I'm not in denial, folks. We're addressing a lot of strong issues. Community relations with our police department, putting a focus on poverty, on affordable housing, segregation, taxation, and the list goes on. We've got issues that we need to address, and we're working very hard to address them. But we have so much more happening here that we could amplify in a much better way. We should be proud of Peoria and who we are, how we've evolved, and where we're going. Just for example, Peoria offers the 34th lowest cost of living in the nation among all metro areas. We rank number 2 in home affordability for mid-size metros. OSF Healthcare, headquartered here, is ranked number 46 of 500 on Forbes' best employers in the country. And that's the highest ranking of any Illinois company on the entire list. Bradley is ranked number 6 in regional universities in the Midwest, number 5 in the best value for schools, and number 14 in the most innovative schools. And here's a big number 2. Peoria exports over $7.3 billion a year. That puts us in the top 50 exporters in the country. Dunlap School District is ranked number 12 of 408 schools for the best school district in Illinois. And I'll add, 75% of the Dunlap students live and have City of Peoria addresses. Dr. Damelin Karat and her team at Peoria Public Schools continue to elevate the learning journey of our largest public school system. Evidence-based funding has helped Peoria Public Schools begin to improve its financial position and invest in innovative and meaningful instructional strategies that will help prepare students for productive and prosperous members of our community. And although manufacturing has been the employment foundation in our community for decades, we've been blessed to have a robust and flourishing healthcare sector taking the lead as our major employer. A highly skilled workforce will keep us in the manufacturing mix, but it would seem that the opportunities for growing and diversifying in the healthcare space provide us with almost unlimited possibilities. Last year at this time, I talked about the exceptional leadership that OSF has shown, especially with the announcement of their new ministry headquarters in downtown Peoria. And they continue to expand and invest, which we're very thankful for. And there are a few other projects that I'd like to mention. The following projects are either planned, underway, or finished, and they represent nearly $250 million in investments in this community. The ministry headquarters is $100 million. Unity Point Health relocation and expansion of Methodist College, $17 million. Unity Point Health renovation of Pekin Hospital, $8 million. University of Illinois College of Medicine recently welcoming first-year medical students and upgrades to the campus, $2.5 million. The Cancer Research Center was $12 million. The Ronald McDonald House, 22 rooms being built as we speak, $8 million. The Almost Home Kids OSF facility, $8.5 million. The OSF University of College of Medicine Jump Trading Education and Simulation Center, $50 million. Unity Point Investments at Methodist and Proctor, $13 million. And there's more for that list, folks. And mentioning these multiple million-dollar projects happening in our community, and a few more that I'll be talking about later, it's important for us to recognize the value that our professional building trades workforces bring to our community. They take a backseat to no one and consistently provide top quality work. They bring the job in on time, and most of the time under budget. We appreciate what our local building trades are doing in our community. So contrary to what many people may think, we have many robust businesses in different stages of development outside of the medical arena. You may recall that last year I spoke to you about a local company making waves around the world. Remember autonomous stuff? Well, last year was an unprecedented year for local entrepreneur Bobby Hambrick and his brainchild, Autonomous Stuff. Their consistent theme is focused on growth. It's unbelievable to think back about all that was accomplished by one company with an incredibly talented team in the last year. Autonomous Stuff has now enabled thousands of global customers with their automated driving initiatives. Autonomous Stuff has built more vehicles that are being used for automated driving research than any other company in the world. Additionally, in 2018, Autonomous Stuff more than doubled their physical infrastructure, including a new operations facility in Morton and a facility expansion in Beijing. They've dedicated an entire facility to engineering innovation. They've nearly doubled their staff with a huge focus on engineering initiatives. They've launched an innovation practice, participated in or exhibited at 55 events throughout the world, and they've experienced nearly 40% growth in sales following 3 years of deep triple-digit sales growth. And to top all of that off, Autonomous Stuff successfully closed a transaction at the end of September to be acquired by Hexagon. I'm proud to announce today that CEO Bobby Hambrick has clearly defined several new initiatives in 2019, the largest of which will be executed in downtown Peoria. They will have a strong push to continue innovation to help support the implementation of full autonomy software stacks by significantly lowering the barriers of entry to the entire mobility industry. What does that mean? Within the first half of 2019, Autonomous Stuff will deploy their own simple urban city pilot program that will include bringing in participation from several major global corporations. They plan to show the world that next-generation mobility will play in Peoria. If you would, please turn your attention to the big screens for this short video from Bobby.
My name is Bobby Hambrick, and I'm the CEO and founder of Autonomous Stuff. We supply products, engineering services, and state-of-the-art software to help enable autonomous driving. Our headquarters is based in Morton, Illinois, because the Midwestern culture is very hardworking and also very loyal. Baidu is a pioneer in AI technology. They created an initiative called Apollo. It's an open, reliable, and secure software stack for autonomous driving. Now, Apollo is announcing the release of Apollo 2.0.
I'm Josh Whitley. I'm the lead software engineer here at Autonomous Stuff. Apollo 2.0, we have cameras being added to the system. They can do stopping based on objects in front of the vehicle. They can follow at a set distance, stoplight detection.
You recognize when the cars are passing by, they're classified as cars. You recognize pedestrians, you recognize bicycles. When the light turns green, it negotiates the intersections and then moves on.
They've brought perception online faster than anyone else I've seen. You only have two eyes and you can only look in one direction. An autonomous vehicle is always looking in every direction at the same time.
Our goal together is to deploy fleets of vehicles to help change the way humans move from point to point. Just call the app, the car comes and picks you up, it's running Apollo software, and it takes you to the next point. So it's our goal to help enable that to happen as soon as possible.
So this is really exciting stuff, and it's a fine example of how a company based in one of our nearby communities benefits the entire region, just as companies based in Peoria benefit theirs. Autonomous Stuff is also participating and steering a technical committee to apply for funding for up to a $60 million governmental Department of Transportation grant, which will be announced by early this spring. Unfortunately for us, Bobby is very motivated to bring in these highly sought-after technology jobs and to keep Peoria on the map. Unfortunately, he's not here. The future is very bright for Hexagon and Autonomous Stuff in the Peoria area. We want to thank Bobby and his team for his ingenuity and loyalty to the area that he calls home. So, as I said, Bobby's out of the country today, but you will notice, hopefully if you didn't, when you're leaving, one of his cars is on display just at the bottom of the escalator down there. And attending today on his behalf are the Director of Marketing, Holly Tatum, and Marketing Manager, Natalie Mean. Thanks for being with us today, ladies. So another local startup that you'll be hearing much more about is Natural Fiber Welding. They were born out of a $10 million research funding from the Department of Defense. Natural Fiber Welding has the potential to change the way textiles are made and discarded materials are reused. The founder, Dr. Luke Haverhals, and COO Steve Zika are both with us today. Welcome, gentlemen. The process that they've discovered results in sustainable, high-performance, bio-based composite materials that are a viable alternative to petroleum-based plastics, with applications in the textile industry and beyond. Natural Fiber Welding has grown to 24 full-time employees. They've raised over $1.5 million in federal grants, much of which has gone back into the local economy to pay for employees' goods and services. They moved from the Peoria Next Innovation Center to a 50,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Peoria, and they're working with global businesses that are looking to invest and help them grow from right here in Peoria. So remember, we're talking about many of the remarkable features in our community that we need to talk about and remind people that this sets Peoria apart from most other communities our size and in many cases larger. Fitting that description is the National Center for Agricultural Utilization Research. It's a mouthful. It's known to most of us as the Ag Lab, right here in Peoria. Our Ag Lab is among the largest agricultural research centers in the whole United States. They employ over 250 PhD scientists and support staff, and we're very happy that they're back to work and hope that they stay that way. So what happens in that big building on University in Nebraska? They improve agricultural production and the economic security of rural communities. They ensure that the American food supply is safe and nutritious. They advance economic development and job creation. And they protect the environment by reducing agricultural inputs and wastes and promote interest in STEM in Central Illinois and beyond. The city's economic development team, headed by Assistant City Manager Deborah Rattler, is working very hard to stimulate economic development in Peoria. The warehouse district continues to intensify and flourish. We've seen property values in the warehouse district increase 43% since 2007, and over $28 million in private investment has occurred there. Numerous businesses have expanded, new business opened, and more are coming this year. We'll see over 150 new residential units added to the warehouse district in 2019, and there are a couple of very exciting announcements that unfortunately I can't tell you about today, but they're coming really soon. A new federal program was created by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It's the Opportunity Zone program. Opportunity zones afford individuals and corporations an opportunity to delay and reduce taxes on capital gains by steering those gains to investments within opportunity zones. One of Peoria's opportunity zones is in our downtown, and we're confident that it will help us get additional investments following the lead of OSF in their $100 million project. More than half of America's most economically distressed communities contained both fewer jobs and businesses in 2015 than they did in 2000. And this next one is another very interesting stat. 5 metro areas in the country produced as many new businesses as the rest of the country combined from 2010 to 2014. So I urge anyone interested in the opportunity zones to contact the Peoria Economic Development Department. Chris Setti and his group at the Greater Peoria EDC are very well versed on this and have good information that could help you with that investment. And speaking of the EDC, Chris Setti's been at their helm for a year now. He's sitting over here in the middle with his team, and they're doing a great job for us. Thank you very much. So we need all cities in the region to remain strong to keep our existing businesses here and growing, and to attract new businesses as well. Just like Autonomous, based in Morton, new developments in Peoria Heights, for example, are good for them and for the entire region. So we want to congratulate Mayor Mike Phelan for their recent announcements of new lofts, a boutique hotel, an arts center developed by Mr. Kim Blickenstaff, and other announcements that are coming in that direction too. In addition to those I've already mentioned, here are a few more things to keep in mind as you learn more about what's happening here and customize your business's marketing to help us sell Peoria. RLI was founded in Peoria and has been headquartered here for over 50 years. It was the brainchild of Jerry Stevens, a great Peoria leader whom we lost last year. RLI has grown to a nationwide company with nearly 1,000 employees, half of whom work right here in Peoria. In the last 5 years, RLI has made a significant investment in Peoria, spending nearly $30 million on improvements to its Peoria campus, and they've never asked the city for a dime. We value John Michael and his leadership team and their loyalty and commitment to Peoria. Komatsu. 3 generations of Peoria families have been employed at Komatsu. How easy is it to forget about that quiet little business up there on the north end? That little business boasts the world's #1 and #3 selling ultra-class dump truck, the first fully automated dump truck in 2009, and the first to move 2 billion tons autonomously. They've also invested over $100 million at the Peoria plant over the last 10 years, while employing over 700 engineers, accountants, welders, assemblers, and warehouse workers. Komatsu's worldwide distribution and product support occurs right here in Peoria. And they boast that it's made in Peoria and shipped to the world. Keystone. Keystone been a leader in the steel industry for over 125 years. Their facility employs over 1,200 people and is one of the largest wire and rod mills in the United States. And as we know, Keystone was recently purchased by GFG Alliance Liberty Steel. I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Sanjeev Gupta, the executive chairman of Liberty and GFG, at the formal inauguration a few weeks ago. Mr. Gupta was very enthusiastic about the acquisition, and he stated publicly that his plans were to double the capacity and output at Keystone this year. GFG's vision is to become a leading United States producer of high-quality, clean, produced steel based right here in Peoria. The Peoria Innovation Hub. We're just starting to hear about it, but this will be a big news in the next couple of years. Because of a partnership between OSF Healthcare, the University of Illinois, ICC, and the Greater Peoria EDC, we'll build out the Thomas Building on Adams Street that was recently vacated by ICC. The Peoria Hub will be part of the Illinois Innovation Network, a statewide initiative led by the University of Illinois system to foster the breakthrough research, discovery, and entrepreneurship that drives progress, job creating, and economic growth. We hope the governor continues the investment of $500 million that's been pledged to this project. Many things have happened in the last couple of years, but we all know that Caterpillar is still of vital importance to our community. They recently announced sales in 2018 of nearly $55 billion, which was an increase of over $9 billion from 2017. And over 12,000 highly skilled employees in our area contributed significantly to that successful year. That's right. We have over 12,000 Caterpillar employees living and working hard right here in Central Illinois. They're great jobs. We hope to see that number grow. How about another positive feature of our community? How important is the presence of Bradley University? It's been here since 1897 and still growing and adding markedly to our city. The much anticipated Business and Engineering Convergence Complex will be open for classes this fall. Bradley is investing $100 million in this project alone. The current construction has been estimated to be creating 445 full-time jobs and $186 million in economic activity in our local economy. The new building will certainly create more convergence opportunities with local businesses and organizations to give their students experiences that they couldn't get elsewhere. It will enhance the Main Street corridor and spur more economic development in that area. With over 1,200 employees, Bradley is also one of our city's major employers. So when talking about amenities in Peoria, don't forget about the General Wayne A. Downing International Airport. Director Gene Olson is very proud to have just finished a record-setting year in 2018. They had 7 record-setting months and a new all-time passenger record as well. Our airport is served by 4 airlines and has daily nonstop flights to 4 of the 5 most connected airports in the country. The only downstate airport that can boast that. We also look forward to an enhanced entrance to the airport because of a $5 million reconstruction project of Dirksen Parkway beginning this spring. And Jenny Davis is their Director of Marketing and Air Service, and she says it best. Air service is the Air service is the anchor for economic prosperity in every community, so it's critical that we all support our local airport. Use it or lose it. As a community, we didn't support nonstop flights to Detroit, and we lost them. The airlines are scrutinizing every route, and our airport is competing against every airport across the country for flights, not just our neighbors. So as you make your travel decisions, please fly local. Keep our local air service strong. I'd like to thank the Airport Authority Board for a ton of hard work for keeping Peoria at the front of the track. Another amenity that we relish is our Peoria Riverfront Museum. A great community deserves a great museum. In our own privately funded Peoria Riverfront Museum, the only museum of art, science, history, and achievement in the nation. And they've just launched the Year of Invention with a new exhibit on the 10 medical inventions that changed the world and another on the world-class duck decoy carvings that came from right here in central Illinois, opening this Saturday, February the 9th. Before the end of the year, they will also welcome a major show of Leonardo da Vinci, the genius featuring the secrets of the Mona Lisa. President and CEO John Morris is doing an unbelievable job at PRM. We're very fortunate to have him in that position. But we know that to have a vibrant, growing business community, we have to have an educated and well-trained workforce. That's the main reason that 10 years ago, Peoria Promise was born in Peoria. Since then, over $4.5 million in scholarships have been provided to over 2,600 students, and the Promise is proud to be a Heart of Illinois United Way agency. Here's a few quick facts about Peoria Promise. 48% of the students are first in their families to attend college. 73% of the recipients are employed while they're in school. 90% of their alumni are working in the greater Peoria area, and 75% are working in Peoria. 83% are public school students, 16% are private school students, 1% are homeschooled, 66% are low income, 61% diversity in the student population. And we've had a 65% increase in applications in the past 2 years. Being as Peoria Promise is 100% donor-funded, tuition-reimbursed program, we need all the help we can get financially. 2019 application period is now open from February 1st to May 1st. Hopefully you were all at the Peoria Promise Fall fundraising event last October, where Eureka College made a sensational announcement by introducing the Uniquely Eureka Promise. The Uniquely Eureka Promise provides students the opportunity to obtain a bachelor's degree at Eureka College without the burden of student loan debt. Base tuition charges for incoming transfer students with an associate's degree from ICC are covered for 4 semesters at Eureka. Students who are Illinois residents and meet the academic score of a 2.8 GPA and certain financial aid requirements qualify. So between Peoria Promise and the Uniquely Eureka Promise, eligible students can now attain a 4-year degree with little to no debt. I don't know of any program in the state that can match this. So because of these 2 exceptional programs, it's my honor and privilege to award the Mayor's Outstanding Community Service Award to ICC President Dr. Sheila Quirk-Bailey and the Eureka College President Dr. Jamel Santa Cruz Wright. For their leadership efforts and support for our future leaders, our children. So would you please also acknowledge and give a round of applause to the Peoria Promise Executive Director, Mary Jo Settler, and Natalie Thomas, Director of Student Affairs. A ton of work gets done by these 2 dynamic ladies. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the members of the Peoria Promise Board of Directors who are with us today. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge all of the teachers and administrators who are with us this afternoon. There's no more important job than preparing our children to be productive members of our communities through education. Will all teachers, administrators, and others involved with educating our kids, either current or retired, please stand up and be recognized. Now I'd like to give kudos to a group of young Peorians who are working hard to make a positive difference here. Have you heard about Build Peoria? Their goal is simple: to unite the community through their love of the Peoria area to physically build Peoria into a better place and leave a legacy for future generations. Build Peoria recognizes many generous people who have contributed greatly to life-changing charities. Build Peoria wants to connect that generation to their generation of millennials to make a difference. They believe that the future of fundraising is not necessarily 10 people giving $10,000, but rather 1,000 people giving $100. Their first project raised funds to build a dog park for the village of Peoria Heights. And now they're raising funds to purchase and restore a house for the Peoria Police Department to use as a neighborhood officer home on the near north side. Build Peoria is one of the most positive initiatives we've seen in this area in a long time. They believe in the power of the community. Thanks to Nick Yates and his army at Build Peoria, this is a great example of the positive things that we can do to change the narrative around here, and the millennials are leading the way. I'd like to mention a couple other initiatives that have council member leadership on some important subjects. Councilmember Montalongo and I are working with a group of people interested in smart city initiatives. You'll be hearing a lot more about the efforts of this group in the coming months, but I'd like to thank Councilman Montalongo for his leadership and focus in this area. His IT background and business experience is vital to this project. Also, Council members Euler and Jensen are working with a small group of local real estate investors to establish a better line of communication with those who are investing here. We want to develop strategies to attract more investment in our community instead of driving them away with increased fees. I know the realtor community has a strong group here today. Thanks to their hard work, Thanks to their hard work, the Peoria metro area recorded a nearly 9% jump in sales last year, with a median home selling at $125,000. I want to thank them for their efforts to make Peoria a great place to invest and welcome their input on this and other important topics relative to their success. There will be additional councilperson-led community efforts to focus on making Peoria a good investment for everyone. I want to thank my peers on the council for all their hard work and dedication to make our community better. Little plug here for the election. Be sure to learn about the at-large candidates and make sure that you vote in the February 26th primary. I'd also like to recognize Councilwoman Denise Moore for her recent appointment to a National League of Cities task force to address how communities can better respond to the growing challenges of housing availability, affordability, investment, and quality. This is a critical issue in our community, and we're proud to have Councilwoman Moore working with 17 other elected city leaders from across the country on this important task force. It's also a little bittersweet that our longest tenured Councilman Eric Turner, will be retiring from the council after serving 24 distinguished years. We'll certainly miss his extensive experience, his calm demeanor, and common sense approach to local government, and wish him well in retirement in May. Thank you, Councilman Turner. How about a big shout out to our friends at the Dream Center Peoria for launching a 60-day challenge called Love Peoria. Starting in late October, they challenged us every day for 60 days with a specific act of love that we could do for those around us. What an unbelievable show of love for our community. We're grateful for everything the Dream Center and Riverside do to make our community an amazing place to live. And one more call out to Jonathan and Nikki Romaine and their vision to transform the old Greeley School into a community arts center. Artists Re-envisioning Tomorrow is a project that we should all get behind. Thanks to Jonathan and Nikki for all their efforts to bring their vision to reality. This is a rather tough time in some areas of the city, and PCAV, the Peoria Community Against Violence, is working very hard to bring all neighborhoods in our community together with the goal of making our city safer. I urge you to get involved regardless of where you live in the community. We need your assistance. Some of you might remember that last year I talked about Vicki King, who is the receptionist that sits down at the bottom of the stairs, and she offered me some thoughts that I shared with you last year, and everybody seemed to like them. Today, when I was coming up, she wanted to know if I wanted her little pearl for the year, her words of wisdom. And she said, not knowing what the topic or topics were today, she said, "We're only as strong as our weakest neighborhood. So we all need to work together to raise all of our neighborhoods." So when you're leaving today and you see Vicki downstairs, tell her thanks for being very well grounded and for giving us her words of wisdom. You know, you can't say enough about this community. No other community gives more per capita than Peoria. I don't have time to mention the countless organizations and not-for-profits doing remarkable work in our community, but I want you all to know how much we appreciate what you're doing. That's a really full screen right there, and Stacy did a great job of trying to put as many names up there as she could. I'd like to offer a thanks to our city manager, Patrick Urick, and his team for all their hard work keeping the city operating in very difficult times. I'd also like to give a special shout out to Cy Maroon and his snow fighters and Public Works. Yeah. Needless to say, if they're not putting down salt or pushing snow, they're filling potholes, so none of them are here today, but we'll make sure and let them know that that mention got a nice round of applause for them today because they've done a great job during a very difficult winter. As we near the close, I'd like to give a shout out to the new Civic Center General Manager, Rick Edgar. And I don't know if Rick's here today. They got a lot going on in the building today. But the room looks great. The food and the service were fantastic. And you may have noticed some pretty big changes at the Civic Center since Rick came on board. The arena concerts are up 225% versus fiscal year 18, including the highest grossing concert in Civic Center history, and that was Bob Seger on January 22nd. More theater concerts are scheduled in fiscal year 19 than any other year in the venue's history. John Mellencamp highlights the record-breaking lineup. Disney's The Lion King musical grossed over $2.4 million at the Civic Center during its 2-week run and brought in over an estimated $7.8 million to the Peoria area economy. The Civic Center net revenues are up by more than $1 million in fiscal year 19 versus the same time frame last year. So hats off to the Peoria Civic Center Board of Directors, GM Rick Edgar, and his staff here at the Peoria Civic Center. So as you know, I try to make an ask every year from the audience. Please take it to heart this year. As topics come up for discussion in the community, ask yourself, what is my solution? Put it out there for feedback. As I requested you to consider today, ask yourself and your team, what are we doing to promote what's happening in Peoria? Let's all work together and get the message out for the entire world to see and hear. Peoria is a wonderful community. We have so much to be proud of. We'll continue to work hard to improve the areas that need attention. Do your part to help us spread the word about your company, about your neighborhood, about your schools, about our great city. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as your mayor. Have a nice afternoon, and God bless Peoria.
Before I let you all go, I want to make a couple of comments, and certainly I want to echo Jim's comments about those people who run for office and the courage to do that. Win or lose, putting your name on the ballot is a challenging thing. It puts you up to acceptance or rejection, and I've had a little of that in running for the school board in Pekin years ago, and putting your name out there, knowing that 60 or 70% may support you, and those other 30, 40, 49% may not. So it takes a lot of courage to endure that. I applaud those people who are willing to run. Just a quick history lesson. I'm just finished reading Washington by Ron Chernow. If you're familiar with that book, he's the same person who wrote Hamilton, the wildly successful Broadway play. Hamilton was 734 pages, not that I was counting. Washington is 800 and some pages long, and they're difficult reads for me. I think they were written for somebody at a college, well beyond college level, and my reading is usually based upon something more along 6th grade, 7th grade. So in any case, I finish those books, and when I drive these streets and I see Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Monroe, Madison, Hamilton, the takeaway that I've gotten from these books is that the vitriol that we all enjoy or listen to every day in the news is no different than it was back then. And we've managed to survive all these years with that. So that's a takeaway from me, and if you read those books, or if you haven't read them, I encourage you to do so. The other thing, a couple of things, I guess. Oh, I didn't make notes. My brother passed away this past week, and this will be the lighter, darker moment. Tonight we're going to have a memorial service for him, and that's all good. But a couple weeks before he passed away, we were chatting, and he'd been battling cancer for a goodly, about 5 weeks. And his care was great. That was all good. But in a moment of humor, he said to Rich, he said, one thing, and I'll leave you with this comment, one thing you don't want to do is take a laxative and a sleeping pill at the same time. With that, we're adjourned. Everybody have a good year. Thanks.